So today we're doing a day in the life of Cole Sweeney. So what I do for in the morning is I always leave the shirt I'm going to wear right up front. And the pants or shorts or whatever that I'm going to wear. So I'm going to wear these jeans and this shirt. And I always keep my favorite pair of shoes right out of the closet near my door so I can wear that. So let's and boom, outfit. The shirt I'm wearing says "Stop for White Canes," and I thought that was fitting for today's little adventure in the day of the life of Cole Sweeney. Before we begin, I would just like to talk about my cane for a second. Now, I have a tri-fold cane because I am short. So, for someone that's taller, they may have a 4-fold or even a 5-fold segmented cane, which is great that they take height into consideration. I've already unfolded it because I need 2 hands to do it. That's just me personally. And so this is my orange handled cane. And if you look, my cane tip, which is a marshmallow roller tip, is orange. And if you have noticed, my outfit, I'm wearing a orange shirt. And it says, "Stop for White Canes." So I just thought I would briefly touch on that for a second. And I also have some keychains clipped on to my cane, just kind of to like accessorize and fashionize the item. So today I thought I would show you guys how to use a white cane. So let's do that. So I just unfolded my cane, as you guys saw. For this demonstration, I'm going to be starting with my left foot forward. So since I'm starting with my left foot forward, my cane is to my right. So then when I step with my right, then my cane would go to the left. So it's currently at my right side. So now I'm going to step right and it goes left. So it's kind of like a pattern. So every morning, evening, and night, well, I always check Blackboard first thing every morning. So as you can see, I clicked on the activity. Now, as for this class, video lectures, okay, and then it displays what it is. So as you can see, the text is very, very small. So I'm just going to Blackboard, back arrow default, 1:13 p.m. turn on my voiceover. Happy Monday, everyone. I just wanted to let everyone know that I have posted video lectures in Module 4 and 5. The lecture on social histories also discusses your personal long history assignment at the end of the lecture and gives some places you can find examples. As always, please feel free to reach out to me with any additional questions or concerns. Your personal long history is due by 9/27. Mary Hope vertical line 1 out. Video lectures. Back arrow default. Button. Back. Back. Button. So this is just one example of how I use my iPad and accessibility features to make the best of my college experience and truly make life easier for myself. Now let's move on to laptop. I currently have the Zoom feature enabled, which usually I pull my computer closer to my face. I should probably just zoom it in, but I did have to zoom it out a tad bit so I could show you guys how I use my computer with applications such as Microsoft Word or what have you. So, you know, it displays the time, battery, all of that good stuff. And then we get down to the doc. Yes, Word, okay. And so I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek as to how I use my computer. Now it is zoomed out so I can show you the title page. So this is my title page for my assignment that I did yesterday for my juvenile delinquency class. And I'll just give you a little sneak as to the paper. Now, this is what I do when I type. I zoom it all the way in. As much as it'll go, like this. And then this is how I type. So, it is a great feature that Microsoft Word has. Also, there is a dictate button, which is basically speech to text, which is very helpful. And there's also an option to have it read to you. Oh, what tab is it under? Yes, it's under review and it's read aloud. So these are just some of the few little features that I use to make writing documents and etc. much easier for myself. Another tool that I utilize is this Amazon Alexa. And if I say, Alexa, what's the weather for today?
Right now in Beckley, it's 58 degrees Fahrenheit with clear skies and sun. Throughout the day, you can expect more of the same, with a high of 63 degrees and a low of 38 degrees.
She will let me know what the weather is, and it's very, very helpful for planning outfits. And you can do all of the features with this device through voice by speaking to it, and it is truly a wonderful piece of technology. One of the things I like to do in my spare time is play Animal Crossing New Horizons. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, how do you play video games if you're visually impaired? Well, thankfully, a lot of the console systems, such as PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch, have zoom features, which is what I'm using right now. I typically play it on my TV, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just doing it in its handheld mode. So with Zoom, you can just press the home button, which is right here, and then you can simply just move it across the screen, which is very, very helpful to adjust. And, yeah. I took it off Zoom just so I could show you the startup screen because I love, love, love this game. And I just love the happy, happy music. So Animal Crossing is kind of one of those games that you play every day, which is great. So it's loading, and then it's going to start with this lovely little gal named Isabel from Resident Services, and she'll tell us about our day. And she says, hello there, everyone, right now on Ohana Bay, which is the name of my island. Now, a little preface for the reason I named my island Ohana Bay. Ohana means family in Hawaiian, and I just thought that was a truly wonderful name for my island, because on my island we love everyone. So and she's telling us the time and all of that wonderful stuff. She has no news to share. Yes, and she says to give this week our all. Thank you, Isabel. And now, here's a little sneak peek at my island and my character. And I'm wearing a fedora, sunglasses, a face mask because it's 2020, a wetsuit with leaf prints, and then some socks and shoes.
You know, to get around and, you know, especially street crossings, those give me the most anxiety. I mean, and that never fails. But at least the canes are there for that. And I was told by an O&M therapist, you should always listen to your cane because it has feelings.
For me, I agree with Braylon on some things. I use my cane mainly in public. A lot of people especially people in my family, they misconceive about me using my cane in my own home, one, I don't feel comfortable doing that because it's a 4-foot-inch stick and I don't feel like carrying that around my house. And two, I'm pretty good at memorizing.
That's what I tell people. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need that around your house. It's your
Yeah,
house. Why would you use it
exactly.
around?
Yeah, and two, as long as I memorize all the bedrooms, the stairs, where the bathroom, like where everything is, I'm pretty well functioning. Like, my neighbors, matter of fact, when they first met me and my family, and I went up from the front porch to go get food or something, they were like, "Is she really blind or is she faking it?" And I said, "I'm totally blind. It's just the way I perceive things." So it's only in public that I really use my white cane. And
Same.
same with you, Braylon. Street crossings, especially 3-way and 4-way, whew, I get anxious very easily because I
I
don't
know, because
know.
then you got to look left, right, front, and behind you.
Yeah, and I gotta listen, and there's gonna be
Yeah.
vehicles and other noises masking each other, so it's
Nightmare.
challenging.
If
It's
you can't
challenging.
see it all, it's a nightmare.
Oh yeah. There's been times where I've broke down in front of O&M specialists because I was
Yeah.
just so panicked.
Yep.
So
Well,
Me too.
Braylon, I remember you mentioned that you don't like street crossings, and I would also like to chime in and say I also do not like them, and totally terrified of them. And Hannah, as for breaking down in front of an O&M instructor, I have done that multiple times, so it is
So have I.
okay.
So have
And
I.
also
That's
about
right.
memorization, that is very important. And I think that you guys made some wonderful and valid points. So I'd like to move on to the next question, which is, what type of accommodations are you guys receiving in college? So again, whichever one of you would like to chime in first, please feel free.
Currently, actually, rewind my freshman year when I attended West Liberty University. They it took them a while for the academic support. I think they call it Student Learning Center. It's the same thing. It took them a while to finally adapt to having a blind student on campus for the first time in 30 years. Even when they did have a blind student on campus, was it at West Liberty or someone? I forget where, but a long time ago, they had a blind student, but they were legally blind. They weren't totally blind. But like with the whole braille and using a white cane, the maintenance staff had to go out of their way to put in truncated domes in front of the street so I know where to cross the street to go to my classes, to go to lunch and everything else. And then as far as academic wise, I had to notify my professors, and they did the right procedure of giving them an accommodation letter for extended test time, a separate private testing area, extended time on makeup assignments, like if I missed any assignments or I needed to catch up on anything. What else? Dorm wise, the housing office situated me in a basement apartment like dorm where it was like a bigger open space, like a huge bedroom with an accessible sink, kitchen area, a bathroom with handlebars in the shower. So in case I needed to reach for anything and I needed help, getting up from, so they were pretty good. And currently, West Virginia Northern, I made sure to let my professors know to give me extended test time and then extended assignment makeup time, and to just when they show a PowerPoint, to make sure they describe any pictures, any graphics, anything of that sort. And I use all voiceover or voice talking assistive technology in Braille. So basically, those are my accommodations in college.
So I just have to get which I never use them if I do ever think I'm gonna need them. But sometimes I'll ask for extensions, but it's rare. But also extra
Hey,
time on
Melanie, will we have a
quizzes.
Zoom number so I can send to them? When will
I'm
that
sorry?
be set up so I know to tell them?
I can make it now if you want me to go ahead and make it.
No, I'd like to send it to them by Monday, sometime afternoon, but no, as long as, I
We've
just
got
wanted to make
somebody
sure.
who's needs to be muted,
I'll tell them that
please.
Monday it will be created, not a big deal.
Okay.
I'm submitting it now, so normally Zoom meetings are really easy to fill.
Okay.
So, all right, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Is it Melanie that's not muted? Okay. I'm sorry, Braylon, go ahead.
So, rarely do I have to ask for extensions on assignments, but I never use them even when I do. But I ask for extra time on like the quizzes that they give us. I haven't had to, because I've chose to go to a college near me, which is closer to home. So even if I would have gone on campus, dorm life I wouldn't have had to really worry about. And accessibility wise, I know what I need, but somehow I still do not have it yet.
I have that same struggle. Yeah.
I have someone
Braylon,
being my eyes right now at the moment, and I don't like it. To see
well, it
stuff
sounds
that's on
like
the
we all have some similar accommodations. I also have extended test time and things of that nature. And also on my handouts, usually they're digital, but in the rare case that you have some professors that provide paper copies, I always ask, for them to be a larger font size, which isn't much bigger from the original font, but I'm thankful that I do go to Concord University because the office staff at the Emma Bird Center always hook me up and print out the pictures and the assignments and etc. much larger than what's actually supposed to be printed. So I'm very thankful that they do that little extra accommodation for me. And Hannah, it sounds like when you were living at West Liberty that you had a little suite, which I think is great. So the next question I'm going to ask you guys is, do you prefer taking your classes in person or online?
I prefer in person more than online because I find it, I'm sorry. Oh, that was just me. I find it slightly more difficult working online and through Zoom with professors because I am more confused on what assignments need to be done or how to do the assignments. In person, it would be easier because I'll be in class and I will have actually physical peers to talk to or my professor to talk to after class. And I just feel like being in the presence of someone administrative would work more efficiently than all this virtual stuff. I actually, I had a very bad day. Was it Monday? It was recently. And I was in a Zoom meeting with my sociology professor. And I straight told her, I said, I do not like this social or this virtual stuff. Like, I just want this to be over. And she says, I completely understand. So you just got to hang in there. And I said, so very stressful working virtually than in person, personally.
Well, next semester we were already the people already said that it was going to be online. They're not doing in person for the spring semester. But I mean, I prefer in person. But I told Cole last night over the phone. I said, and you can ask Cole this. I said, and he laughed at me and told me to tell y'all this today. But I like how you can be in your jammies online.
Yeah, I guess there is a good side. I mean, I don't have to worry about dressing up all the time just to go to one class and stuff like that. But I feel more motivated having to go somewhere than to be like, oh, I have class online. Oh, so it's like a good and bad situation, I guess.
Well, Hannah, I hate to hear that you had a bad day on Monday. And Braylon, I do think that comment about wearing pajamas to Zoom calls is very funny. And that's why I wanted you to mention it. I actually prefer online classes just because at Concord, a lot of our coursework is online anyway. So for me, it's not really any different than being in person because during these online semesters, they've provided recorded lectures. So to me, it's just as if I was able to sit in the classroom, even though I'm sitting in my bedroom. And I prefer having the lectures recorded because that way there's less interruptions. When you have in-person lectures, everybody asks questions and you may forget something that they say. So I really love having recorded lectures to go back and reflect on notes or the chapters or something that you missed. So and I also enjoy being able to do coursework. I'm going to say at my own pace, but everything has a deadline, of course. But I like to do little
Make my
pre-planned
own planning.
schedules.
Yes.
Yes, that always get ruined because they add more things, and then I have to make another schedule and scramble. But that's fine. So I like doing it that way. I would like to thank you both for being here and being very generous with your time. And I hope that you guys enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks.
very welcome.
Well, thank you. That was just a lovely conversation. I think we all learned a little bit about what it's like to learn not in the classroom. And I want to thank you all for that. We're going to have next a poem. And I would warn you all to get your tissues out because it's really, really beautiful.
I ran out of tissues.
0% chance of survival.
A testimony of faith and miracles, written by Casey's grandmother, Casey, God's miracle child. Memorial Day, 1999. A typical holiday weekend. Food cooking on the grill. Duke barking, running out of his pen. My son Justin calls. He tells me Caitlin is pregnant. There are problems. I love you. We'll get through this together, I hear Justin say.
I pray for the life of the grandchild I mentally call Casey. The doctor's words are cold. The baby has 0% chance of survival. Caitlin refuses to terminate her unborn child. Emergency delivery at 26 weeks determines Casey Scott's birthday. 19 ounces, 12 inches, perfect in every way.
In the NICU unit, on life support, condition critical.
5 months later, he comes home with nursing care each day. He has deficiencies and he may not speak, the medical experts say. God blesses Casey as he mentally and physically excels. A happy child who loves music, lights, and bells.
Memorial Day, 2002. A typical holiday weekend. Food cooking on the grill. Duke barking, running out of his pen. A perfectly healthy, normal child. I watch Casey run and play. Let Duke out.
Casey can do it.
I give thanks to God for this miracle child who doctors gave a 0% chance to survive. Justin calls to talk to Casey this time. The phone resting on his shoulders, Casey talks and laughs with delight.
Casey climbs onto my lap, hugs me, and says, I love you, Mama Joe.
The end. Thank you everyone for being here and listening. This is a poem that was written by Cole Sweeney's grandmother that started before he was born. and takes you into his third year. Cole is now a college student, and as you can see, he can speak, he can hear, he is active in his life, he has a funny laugh, and we love having him around. Thank you, everyone. Okay, is there a dry eye in the house? Isn't that beautiful? And some of you might notice over my shoulder, Cole's mama wrote a book, 0% Chance of Survival. And it tells his story, and it has the poem in it too. I bought it at Amazon. Okay, now we're ready to have our next live conversation with Jody Gilkerson. Jody is a senior rehabilitation counselor for people who are blind or who have low vision with the West Virginia Division of Rehabilitation Services. She has been with the West Virginia Division of Rehabilitation Services for 10 years, and 9 of those have been spent serving clients with blindness or low vision. She has a master's degree in rehabilitation counseling from the University of Kentucky and has been a licensed certification rehabilitation counselor since 2016. I'm turning it over to Kelly.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Miss Jody. As soon as Cole has some questions for you, as soon as he unmutes his microphone, that we would like to talk to you about about your job at the Division of Rehabilitation Services.
Well, it's an honor for me to be here, and I am so proud of Cole. Just a little intro. I started working with Cole when he was just a little bitty caterpillar, a backwards, shy kid in 9th or 10th grade of high school, I think. And he is turning into a magnificent butterfly, and I could not be any more proud of him. He is such an advocate, and I know that he is going to do great, great things. And I feel like a mama bear today. So, and that story touches my heart so much because my sister had a similar experience. My nephew, who just turned 16, when she was pregnant with him, had some major health issues, and the same thing. They told her he would be a vegetable, he would never speak, he would never talk, he would never walk, and did she want to keep him? And this was when he was 10 days old. And of course, she prayed and she had faith, and of course, that was her son, regardless of the condition. And he is 16. He just got his driver's license. He is a perfect child. He plays baseball. He is an academic, no cognitive deficiencies, and he's just a wonderful little boy. And so that story touches my heart personally, as well as not just with Cole, but with my nephew as well.
So would that have been one of the reasons why you chose your career path?
No, my career path was kind of chosen for me. My undergrad degree is in business and accounting, and I was a finance manager for years. I was never into social services. I was always a business, finance, accounting, and I started here with the agency 10 years ago as an office assistant, very entry-level job with the agency. And my plan was just to get in with the state and then go somewhere else. That was my plan from the beginning. Well, then I was here, and then the more I got to working with people, the more I liked it, and then I kept getting promoted, and then they're like, why don't you get your master's and stay? And so it kind of chose me. And once I got so far in, I couldn't let go. So I love working with people with blindness and low vision. And so here I am, I guess, for the rest of eternity.
Go ahead and take it away, Cole.
Thank you so much for sharing that about yourself, Jody. Alrighty. So what is your role with the student or client?
So my role is basically just to be a support person and provide services to clients to help them meet their goals. Every student, every client is different. Every adult is different, because I work with people age 14 and up. I've worked with people up into their 60s and 70s before. You know, to make sure my main role is to give information so that the student can make an informed choice about what they want to do as far as work, to make sure that they have all the information that work is suitable to their disability, that they will be able to do the job duties of that work with the accommodations that they need, to be a support person when they encounter stumbling blocks, to help them get the services like orientation and mobility the young students have talked about today, to get the accommodations on their computer, which I know is a little slow process right now, but that's part of what we do, and just to be a source of support for that person. But our ultimate goal, the Division of Rehabilitation, is an employment agency. So our end goal is employment. Whether you go to college training, vocational training, you want to go to work right after high school, a plan is tailored to whatever you want to do. But that's our end goal, is employment and independent living.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. So Jody, when people typically think about DRS, I would say that they typically think about, students that are just fresh out of high school and want to continue their education, or like you said, somebody that would like to take part in vocational training. But do you offer any services? I think I heard you mention that you worked with some older folks. Could you talk about some of the services that you can help provide for some of the older folks that maybe your clients?
Sure. And a lot of time with the older folks, it's a matter of one of two cases sometimes. The first case is they have been a person with blindness or low vision for a while. They had to quit working. They did not know services were available that would help them continue to work. So they haven't been in the workforce for a while, but they want to be in the workforce, even on a part-time basis. So with those clients, we provide a lot of information. We help them and get them some type of part-time employment and things like that. But and then the other side, for a lot of my clients, they are middle-aged to older individuals who develop a vision condition later in life, such as, diabetic retinopathy is such a huge disability on the rise right now in our population, and macular degeneration, things like those that you've done this job for 10, 15, 20 years and you've done it fine, but now because of your vision, you're not able to do those job duties. So we can step in and we can provide some of the computer accommodations like you and Braylon and Hannah were speaking of, to enlarge the print, to do the speech to text, to do some of those things, to make them, give them those accommodations that will allow them to continue working and to continue their employment that they desire to keep. We still do orientation and mobility for older individuals. And my philosophy as a blind and low vision counselor is to plan for the worst and hope for the best. So when I'm talking with a student, and you and Braylon can attest to this, I always say, okay, here's where we are. And especially for someone with a progressive vision condition that's going to get worse. Here's where we are today, but what if you go blind? What if you lose all sight? Can you still do that job you've selected with the accommodations? And what training will you need to be able to do that? And that's how I look at a case. Now, we don't want that to happen, but if it does, you're okay. Because you don't want to wait until that happens and then get the services you need, because that isn't going to work. So I always look at a case, the very worst case scenario, what would you need to keep doing that job? And could you do that job? And every one of us has limitations, whether we state them or whether we don't. There are certain occupations that someone with blindness and low vision cannot do. And a silly example is if you're blind, you can't drive a tractor trailer. So, I mean, we really look at some realistic job goals and what the services you need to get there. But that a lot of my older population is either job retention or they didn't know things were out there that could help them go to work.
What would you like others to know about the services that is provided by the Division of Rehabilitation Services?
The one thing that I would like for people to know is that we are not an entitlement agency. A lot of people have, and because of pride or because of stigma, they don't want to accept our services because they feel it's a handout or it's, you know, public assistance and nothing wrong with those programs. I mean, they serve a need. But I would like for people to know that's not what our agency is about. Our agency is an eligibility agency. And our goal is to use tax dollars, and that's where our money comes from, is tax dollars, federal and state. For us to use those tax dollars to help you, to get you the services that you need so that you can work, keep working, pay taxes, so that those tax dollars can then be paid forward to help someone else. That's what I would like for people to know about us.
Great, thank you.
Well, I think we've all learned a great deal here, and I appreciate your taking the time, Jody, to be with us today. And thank you for all the work that you do for people with disabilities in West Virginia.
Well, and you're welcome. And if we have time at the end, you know, I'll hang around if there's any questions. If we have time, you know, I'll be more than happy to stay on.
Great. Thank you, Jody. Okay, well, we had Cole talk with two of his student friends, and now we're going to have interviews with some of his teachers to learn more about what it's like to be a special student and what the teachers can share with us. Our first is Laura Anderson, who is a teacher of the visually impaired in Raleigh County High Schools, was a teacher of the visually impaired in Raleigh County High Schools, and for the past year has been working for the School for the Blind in 17 counties in West Virginia. She travels to these 17 counties to visit and work with families of people who are low vision or blind. Okay, hold on everyone as I move us over to the video.
I'd like to introduce Laura Anderson, who is my teacher of the visually impaired throughout 2 of my high school years, my junior and senior year, who is here today to talk about what it is like being a teacher of the visually impaired and working with students who are blind and low vision. And would you care to tell us a little about yourself?
Okay, well, my name is Laura Anderson, and previously worked with Cole Sweeney when he was in Raleigh County Schools. Worked in Raleigh County Schools from 2015 until last school year, where I transferred jobs, and I'm now working for the School for the Blind as an outreach specialist. And I cover 17 counties in the state. They're not all this. I live in Mercer County. They're not all southern counties. Sometimes I go as far as Randolph County, Upshur County. So I do a lot of traveling. I'm working with families mainly who have children who are either low vision or blind. And I really enjoy this field of work. I don't know if I ever shared with you, Cole, but I did have a niece who had RP, which is a little different than what you have, but she has tunnel vision and she is also deaf. So that's kind of what got my interest up in this field. So I appreciate the introduction, Cole.
Could you describe what the role of a teacher of the visually impaired is?
Well, a teacher of the visually impaired does a lot of behind the scenes work when it comes to a student's education. They work closely with the entire education team and the students with their families. A lot of it is that you have to begin to, first of all, understand their eye condition, to see, okay, how are they going to access their educational material? Is it going to be by print? Does it need to be by Braille? What specialized instruction do they need? If it's just going to be large print, do we need to teach them how to use specialized magnification devices? If it's Braille, it could entail a lot of different learning strategies to teach the students how to use Braille, and even working with the families on how to understand what the Braille code is. You would work with many people in the team, a lot of the general ed teachers, like for them to understand what that student can and cannot see in the classroom and how we can make it accessible to them. And working in a county school system, you do travel a lot between the schools. Generally, you don't have probably more than one student at a school. Sometimes you do, but most of the time these students are isolated. They may be the only student in the school that has low vision or is blind.
How many students do you typically aid?
There were, when I was doing it, I had anywhere between 17 and 23. Sometimes you would get students in the middle of the school year that would move into the counties. Sometimes you would lose students to another state, or parents may think that it's best to send them to the school for the blind where they get specialized instruction. So you would lose students to that. But generally, anywhere between 17 and 20 in Raleigh County. Some counties have less, but Raleigh County is a big county.
What types of accommodations can you help provide for your students?
Well, you do have to look at each student individually. Do they need large print? Do they need specialized technology to help them access their educational materials? Do they need instruction in Braille? It's all based off of the individual. Then you have to look at, okay, is there a glare issue? Is there a problem with the light that the student needs to be sitting in a certain position in order to see the teacher, to see the instruction on the board? Could be like, generally when they go to high school, middle school and high school, you find that lots of teachers just assign a lot of work. And unfortunately, it takes students with blindness and low vision a lot longer to complete that work. So sometimes you could say, okay, we want to focus just on the key concepts. You kind of leave it up to the teacher. Okay, so what is it that you want the student to learn? And let's make that the assignment, and not so much all the busy work that they sometimes give students.
What is your fondest or favorite memory of me?
Of you? I have several, but I'll just share one. I really think, Holden, it would be when you decided your senior year that you were going to go to ACT and take the early childhood classes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it scared me in the beginning because you never left your high school to venture out. So we're seeing new teachers that don't know your eye condition. You're going to meet new students. And I think you were a little nervous in the beginning too, but you definitely made an impression on that school. I even had students from other schools, when I would go to their high school, they would say, because they knew I was the teacher of the visually impaired, they would say, I know Colton Sweeney. He goes to ACT. So just to know that you went in there, you were able to advocate for yourself. And I think that you really left an impression on the teachers and the students there as well.
What is a funny memory you have of working with me?
Well, that is a question you told me you was not going to ask, but anyway, I guess it would be the time I came to visit you. It was during homecoming week. Mm-hmm. And there was a theme for every day. So you really tricked me, because here I am looking for Colton Sweeney, and you were dressed up like some kind of 70s disco star. You had all the different color hair and the bright clothing. I did not even know it was you. So I was a visually impaired person that day because I had no clue. And it was really good to see you then, because that's when you started stepping outside of your comfort zone and doing different things at school. And
so that I wouldn't have ever doing.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for being generous with your time.
You are very welcome. And I want to say that I'm very proud of the young man that you have become. And I watch you, like, always follow you on social media and see how well you're doing in college. And I know that you make your teachers proud.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was so nice. So next, we're going to have a live conversation with another of Cole's teachers, Bethany Matier, who is an outreach specialist for WVU Eye Institute, working under Children's Vision Rehabilitation Program. She has worked in the field of vision since 2013, also adjunct professor for the vision program at Marshall University's Graduate College. Currently contracted as a certified orientation and mobility specialist, instructing the blind and visually impaired how to travel safely and efficiently in a variety of environments. I'm handing it over to you, Cole.
All right, thank you, Nancy. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Alrighty, great. So Bethany Matier was my teacher of the visually impaired during my freshman and sophomore year of high school. And also I have had the opportunity to keep in touch with Miss Bethany and see her at camp. So we're always staying in touch, which is very essential. Bethany, would you care to tell us a bit about yourself, if you don't mind?
Well, I like Miss Massey introduced me, saying I've worked with individuals who are blind and visually impaired since 2013. I kind of got into this field kind of similar to the way Jody did. It just was kind of handed to me, and I fell in love with it immediately and went further. I started as a teacher of the visually impaired. As Cole said, I got to work with him for a few years. That was wonderful. And then I went on to more training to become an orientation mobility instructor, just because I saw that there was such a great need for the service, and especially here in Southern West Virginia. I had a hard time getting orientation mobility services for Cole when I was his teacher of the visually impaired. And then when we did have it, we weren't able to get them as much as we really needed them to, because there are so few orientation mobility specialists in the state at that point that they were very spread thin. And so I feel like I've found my calling definitely, and I love being able to serve Southern West Virginia even more as an orientation mobility instructor now. And is that a good introduction, Cole?
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I do want to probe you a little bit, and I was wondering if you would care to tell us. I know you briefly mentioned, that you kind of had a similar experience like Miss Jody did. So would you care to explain why you became a special educator? Was there a certain person in your life or situation that led you to this path?
Well, in my undergrad, I kind of I started working at the Center of Excellence in Disabilities, and they have a wide variety of services for individuals with special needs. And I actually started an autism service. My intervention services were in autism. And after my undergrad, there wasn't a school to do autism services in West Virginia for graduate college. So, and I just found I found orientation mobility first, because it is the task analysis process for orientation mobility is very similar to autism services. So I saw that, and there wasn't an orientation mobility program in West Virginia at the time. So I fell into the teacher of the visually impaired program. And I just love being able to help people do things that they didn't think they would ever be able to do. Like, that's my goal in life, is to have that "I told you so" moment to my students. It's wonderful. And so that's kind of how I fell into it.
Well, thank you for that explanation. If you could change one thing about the services that are received by individuals with disabilities, what would that be?
Is that we would have more. We would have more in West Virginia, and that there wouldn't be a question, as the teachers of the visually impaired wouldn't have to question, well, I don't have time for that. They would have the time, and that the students would get what they need instead of what we're able to give them sometimes.
And I remember you mentioning about the aha moment. So I want to see if you remember this little incident. I believe I was a sophomore or freshman, one of the two. And I missed 2 steps on the bus and tore my ligament. And I remember that you would always hassle me about using my cane. And so I wanted to see if you remembered this story. And it was either you or Miss Laura that said that you used this little incident as a story for your other students.
Oh yes, absolutely, 100%. You missed the curb, broke your ankle.
Yes.
Yep. Oh
I've
yes.
only about 3 times now. So that's great. And Bethany, I would just like to thank you for being here with us today and for being so generous with your time, because I know that time is very, very important. And in these times, it's, everyone's always so busy. So I really appreciate you doing this. And if you're sticking around for the remainder of the event, I hope that you enjoy it.
Well, I appreciate you organizing this, Cole. It makes me happy that you have the gumption to do all of this. We love it. We appreciate it.
Well, I just felt like there needed to be a change, and after working with you and Laura, I was like, well, no one's gonna do it for me. I think I've heard you say that.
Yeah.
So I kind of took those words and I was like, okay, well, and after being around Miss Kelly and all of that, I was like, okay, like a compilation of all. I'm going to consider Kelly a teacher because she's really a life teacher. It's not her a job title, but she could be one. After all of that, I was like a melding of everybody's words and encouragement, and I was just like, you know what, I'm going to do it. So I did.
Well, I love it, and I can't wait to see what you do in the future, and I can't wait to share that YouTube video with my students.
Well, thank you, Bethany. That was fantastic. You showed us a human side to Cole, and it was just lovely. We appreciated it. Next, we have Professor Dr. Nancy Burton. And as I was telling you earlier about the poem, that it brought tears to my eyes. Well, Nancy just absolutely touched my heart. And I hope that you have the same experience with you. So give me a second here. I'll pull up the video. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to White Cane Day in Beckley, West Virginia. Our next interview is going to be with one of Cole's teachers, and we're going to talk a little bit about what it's like to learn in this area, to teach in this area, and I'm looking forward to hearing what everyone has to say. Let me introduce Professor Nancy Burton of Concord University. She teaches elementary, secondary, and pre-service special education majors, along with some other things. Nancy's going to talk to us now a little bit about what she teaches, her style, and who she's teaching. And I know that one of the people she's teaching is Cole. Thank you for being with us, Nancy.
Thank you for having me. I think this is a unique opportunity, and I appreciate the opportunity very much. As you said, I teach pre-service teachers, classroom teachers at Concord. Those teachers range from elementary majors to secondary majors, and our special ed folks. We have a standalone special education program, and those are the folks that I focus much of my time on because that's their major. The program itself is not so much what I want to talk about at this point. What I'd like to explain is that every education major in the state of West Virginia is required to take 6 hours of special education. And during those 6 hours, we try very hard to make sure that folks who are not special ed teachers, who are not becoming special ed teachers, understand the nature of inclusive environments. So we discuss learning disabilities. We talk about behavior disorders. We learn about individuals with intellectual disabilities, as well as all of the other exceptionalities listed in federal law, IDEA. We spend some time talking about individuals with visual impairments. I know this format or this program is basically focused on that population. And I think it's important that individuals understand that my philosophy is there's room at the table for everybody. So the more I can prepare my students to walk into their classrooms to address the needs of the individuals that they are teaching, the better off they're going to be, the better prepared they're going to be. And that's my goal. We talk about strategies and techniques and things that we can do to make the learning experience for individuals with any disability much more positive. My goal is to include or to teach my students to include anyone that walks through the door. I think that that's essential in our society today. I feel like I need to share just a little bit of something that happened to me when I was teaching. I actually taught some graduate classes at Marshall at one time. And I had an individual, it was my first experience with an individual with visual impairments. He's very articulate young man and quite frank about his beliefs and the things that were happening to him. And this one day in particular, I was explaining some things and he asked a question, and without realizing it, I raised my voice. And his statement to me, and it was a statement I'll never forget because I learned a volume of information from it, but his statement to me was, you know, Dr. Burton, I can hear you, I just can't see you. And I think that is a lesson that we laughed and I had I guess I had one of those epiphanies, at that moment it hit me. We never know what folks are going through, and what we assume as non-disabled or, individuals that don't deal with those disabilities, we tend to do things that are inappropriate. And that was inappropriate of me to raise my voice to him, not in anger, but just trying to compensate for him. And I think we do that a lot of times, even with other disabilities. We see someone in a wheelchair and we may make assumptions that should not be made. So I think that this program and others like it are essential to the understanding of the general public. As we were talking just a few minutes ago, I think as awful as COVID has been, I think we have learned some lessons about communication and working together and pulling together. And I think that's essential. I think individuals who do not experience disabilities sometimes need to learn lessons the hard way. When Cole was in my class, I have to say, Cole is a unique young man. He is finding his voice, I think. He was finding his voice back then and was very articulate, very willing to share his experiences with his classmates, which added so much more to our class. But he taught me several things and taught me more about an awareness. We take for granted that folks around us do things pretty much the same way that we do, and they don't. I don't know that there's any other person like me, and that's probably better than you know. I don't know that there's another person like Cole, and and that's the way we were created. We are unique. If we celebrate that uniqueness, we can also celebrate what we can learn from each other. And as I said, as a student in my class, Cole was very active, articulate about his disability, and in some ways, he taught more than I did during that time when we were talking about visually impaired individuals.
Cole, it looks like we're having a little bit of trouble here with technical trouble with Nancy. Maybe you can jump in and tell us about the class that you took. Oh, shoot, we lost her. And about what you're studying.
Yes, well, I had Dr. Burton's class in 2018, and that was the Introduction to Special Education, as she mentioned. At that time, I was majoring in elementary education. Now, currently, I'm a social work major with a minor in criminology, and I want to, after I graduate with my bachelor's, go on to get my master's and become a counselor. I feel as though the information that I learned from Dr. Burton not only will aid me and guide me in the social work field with those various jobs, but also as a counselor, because I would love to work with children. And the information that she taught will really stay with me, not just in my professional career, but also how I interact with everyone. You know, you have to take in a lot of things into account. You know, like she always says, there's room at the table for everyone. And ever since she said that, I've tried to incorporate that into my day-to-day life, my day-to-day encounters with everyone, and truly just put forth the kind, positive attitude to everyone you meet, no matter if they're rude to you. If you're, say, at the store and you have a rude cashier, they may be going through something that you know nothing about. So if you respond with kindness, that may truly impact them. Was that
Cole, that was lovely. I thank you for sharing that with us. But it leaves me with a question. Can you talk to us a little bit? I know we've learned a lot about you today, and we've learned a lot about some of your very original skills, I'll call them, because you are a clever guy. But I'm curious about what it is that draws you to working with children and what got you started in this direction.
Well, I have always admired teachers, really, and I've always just loved the thought of being able to teach and educate. So when I was a senior, I went to the Academy of Careers and Technologies and took the early childhood education course. With that course, I did pass and get my certifications, and I also passed the NOCDI test, which is like a national credential standards test. And I did end up exceeding the national standards, and I did get to go to a little convention and well, I was supposed to meet the governor, but that never happened. But so I've been very, very passionate about educating and teaching. And so when I started off at Concord, I knew that was what my heart was set on, was I wanted to teach. So I did. And then it got to the point where I discovered that my limited vision would play a role in the classroom. And I was like, okay, well, is there another field that I could go into that would still allow me to educate and teach, but just in a different way? And so I truly felt like after having my introduction to social work course, that would be the correct path. And so after switching my major and taking some more social work courses, I felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders, and I truly took that as a sign. As for working with children, I've just been very, very passionate about that. I would say from a young age, I was always like I would say that people always describe me as like the brother or the father of the friend group. I always try and look after children all the time, which is what I would always do when I was younger. So I guess recognizing those early signs, I felt like I was a very caring child, and I would always try and help my mom take care of my brother and things of that nature. And I'd always help my mom's friends watch their kids and stuff. So I truly feel like I feel like I'm meant to work with children in my own way. And so with counseling, I would not only be able to counsel young children, I would be able to really help anybody that needs my help. And I really feel like one of my purposes is to just help where I can help out. And after attending the class at the Mountain State Centers for Independent Living, I also found out that advocacy is one of my passions, and I can incorporate that with my educating that I love to do. So it really felt like a win-win when I decided to go into social work. And as of right now, I want to become a counselor, but of course the wind may blow me another direction. We shall see. But with this career, it's truly about helping others and making society a better place, which really needs to happen. A lot of issues in our society could be changed for the better. So I'm hoping that I can be a catalyst for change.
I'd like to.
Cole, that's fabulous. I just want to say how proud we are at Mountain State of Cole and how he's taken what he learned and has stepped into advocacy in a strong way. And I know that he's not going to walk away from that, and how important that is for all people with disabilities to be able to advocate for themselves. And Nancy, I'd like to give you some time here to close up for us.
Well, I would like to piggyback on that as well. And I'm glad that you brought up the idea of advocacy, because Cole, one of the things that is most difficult for individuals with disabilities is this idea of self-advocacy. And it's something that needs to be taught. Those individuals need a voice, and the voice needs to be their own, so that I can come into a classroom, I can look at you in my classroom and think, okay, I need to make some adjustments. But until you actually tell me what works for you, then I'm just making guesses. So it's essential, whether you're in a classroom or you're counseling a student or you're working with a family with a child who has a disability, it is essential that individuals learn how to self-advocate. Now, having said that, I also think that individuals without disabilities need to learn to self-advocate. So you will not be in social work, you will not necessarily be working just with individuals with disabilities, obviously. So what you have learned, and you make me proud, what you have learned and your attitude is such that, number one, folks will be able to learn and pick up the information that they need in order to be self-advocates. Number two, you are walking hope. You are a walking inspiration because you don't let your disability limit you. When the wind blows, you're going to go with it. As you said, it may blow you whichever way. And that's a wonderful metaphor, because the bottom line is understanding yourself, being confident in yourself, and being an independent adult is exactly what every educator from kindergarten all the way through university, that's what we want. We want to be able to produce individuals in a society that are caring and compassionate and who are understanding with others, regardless of what career path you may take. So yes, there's room at the table for everybody, and I'm glad that you remember that and practice that. I want folks to know that, you know, it's not the disability that counts, it's the person that counts, always. And it's a challenge, you know, to me, being in the field of special education, or being in the field of education, has always been a challenge for me, in that my question to myself has always been, how can I make life better for the folks that I encounter? And I think you have echoed that very same thing. And that is that's commendable, and I appreciate it, and it makes me proud, because that's what's going to change society. That type of attitude. How can I become, as you said, the catalyst of change? How can we become a better society? Because we can do better. I believe that. And I appreciate opportunities like this for folks to get that message out. And I appreciate you, Nancy. I appreciate your willingness to work with me through this as well. And I want you to continue to be the catalyst of change. Cole, I really do expect great things from you, so don't let me down, man.
I won't.
Well, Nancy, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to be with us today. And I know I've learned some new things, and my eyes have been opened in a different way. And Cole is just always does that with me. I enjoy listening to whatever it is he has to say, because I seem to learn something. Thank you both.
Thank you.
And we were glad to have you.
Hi, this is Bertha from Mountain State. I have a couple questions. One, Cole, what is Blackboard?
Bertha, we're not ready for questions. They're going to
Oh,
come in. So
okay.
you just
All
need
right.
a couple minutes.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Okay.
much, Dr. Burton, for that teachable moment in disability etiquette, kindness, and advocacy. For today's closing event, I would like to introduce to you the Mayor of the City of Beckley, West Virginia, Mayor Robert Rappold.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay,
Yes.
good. It's an honor to be participating to some degree today, and I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed and how informational this past presentation has been. I thank Cole and Nancy and Kelly and all who put this together, and all of our wonderful presenters today. So it's an honor to participate. And with that, I would like to present this proclamation. Whereas the white cane, which every Beckley blind citizen has the right to carry, demonstrates and symbolizes the ability to achieve a full and independent life and the capacity to work productively in competitive employment. And whereas the white cane, by allowing every blind person to move freely and safely from place to place, makes it possible for the blind to fully participate in and contribute to our society and to live the lives they want. And whereas every citizen should be aware that the law requires that motorists and cyclists exercise appropriate caution when approaching a blind person carrying a white cane. And whereas Beckley, West Virginia law also calls upon employers, both public and private, to be aware of and utilize the employment skills of our blind citizens by recognizing their worth as individuals and their productive capacities. And whereas Beckley, West Virginia, through its public agencies and with the cooperative assistance of Mountain State Center for Independent Living, can and should facilitate the expansion of employment opportunities for and greater acceptance of blind persons in the competitive labor market. Now, therefore, I, Robert R. Rappold, Mayor of the City of Beckley, West Virginia, do hereby proclaim October 15th, 2020 as White Cane Awareness Day in Beckley, and do call upon our schools, colleges, and universities to offer full opportunities for training to blind persons upon employers and the public to utilize the availability of skills of competent blind persons and open new opportunities for the blind in our rapid changing society, and upon all citizens to recognize the white cane as a tool of independence for blind pedestrians on our streets and highways, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and seal, and cause this seal of the City of Beckley to be affixed this 15th day of October 2020. Robert R. Rappold, Mayor, City of Beckley. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much,
Certainly.
Mayor Rappold.
Thank you.
So I would like to thank all of you who attended White Cane Awareness Day. We would like to thank Mountain State Centers for Independent Living, the City of Beckley Human Rights Commission, who provided today's interpreter, Ressie Phillips. We would like to thank Hannah Main, Braylon Dowdy, Bethany Mateer, Jody Gilkerson of the Division of Rehabilitation Services, Dr. Nancy Burton, Mayor Robert Rappold, technical support and MC of today's event, Nancy Massey, COVID-19 for allowing this to be in a virtual event this year, and the reason that we're all here today, Cole Sweeney, for bringing awareness of this event. Everyone will receive an email with a link to today's recording within a day or two. It will also include a list of resources for supports for people who use white canes provided by our speakers today. Mountain State Centers for Independent Living is always here available to help. You can check us out on Facebook or our website, which is mtstcil.org. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to put those in the chat box. If you have to leave and go get your lunch or get back to work, I suggest you do so. But we want you to have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for being a part of this great event.
Excuse me.
Yes, Hannah.
Hi. I wanted to introduce you to my mom, Cole, and Cole knows my mom very well. She is actually in the process of going to college for special education. And I just wanted to introduce you to her because we've also been trying to get advocacy support in Follinsby because we have no services for the blind in Follinsby. So I wanted to introduce you guys to her. So here's my mom. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for being an advocate for your daughter. Sometimes advocacy comes in all forms, and it starts with you, Mom. So we want to thank you for stepping up.
Yeah, I actually didn't even realize how much rights I had as a parent. And so I went to school myself to be a special education teacher. And then that's whenever I was able to implement what I learned at school into Hannah's life as far as in giving her rights and knowing what services that the school should be responsible for.
Absolutely, yes. And if you ever have any questions when it comes to what rights you have, you're more than welcome to be able to call us here at the Beckley office or at the Huntington office of Mountain State. And we can also help you with advocacy as well.
Oh, good. Thank you. That's what I do now. I work as a preschool teacher and I help other families that are going through ISFPs and IEPs.
Yes. And
Yeah.
for those who may not know what an IEP is, that's
Yes.
your individual education plan or program. And it is very important for us as parents to understand and know what those are, because sometimes we don't know what rights we have as parents, and we don't know what rights our students have. But with the with IDEA and the ADA, it helps us understand and have more knowledge that, you know, we do have a lot of power when it comes to our legal rights and responsibilities.
Yes. Yes. It was so nice meeting you guys.
Nice meeting
Nice meeting
you.
you. Cole, can you hear me? Bertha
Yes,
has
I
a
can.
question about what Bertha has a question about what Blackboard is. So can you explain that to her?
Oh, yeah. So Blackboard is a website that I would say it's required of most colleges, but I just know for Concord we use it. And it's a website that they assign our coursework on. So to log into it, you have to sign in with your Concord email and password, and then that's where you'll see all of your coursework, announcements from professors. They can also post PowerPoints and lectures. It's a very essential tool. It could be a little more accessible, but for the most part, it's where we do all of our work. And there's also an app which you can use, but I still prefer the website. But it just has all of the information from your courses to announcements, to quizzes, to assignments. And that's where you would go and submit items, such as you would take your quiz on Blackboard and then you would save and submit it, and then it gets sent to your professor for evaluation and grading. But also sometimes with that, the quizzes and tests, it could be preset, so it could actually pre-grade it if there's questions that don't require a typed or written response. And that's where you'd also turn in your assignments, such as papers and things of that nature. So I hope that answered your question.
Also, and I know that we lost Hannah in this, and Hannah had mentioned, you know, that she didn't care for the virtual experience because she's taking her classes virtually through college. And I know that she's not here to answer this question, but have you noticed that problem, and what do you think they can do to improve those types of measures?
Yeah, I think that so on Concord's initial actual website, where you can go to, it's just concord.edu, and you can look at like it'll give you the option to look at students and about Concord and all of that stuff. There's actually accessibility features on that site. However, that's where it ends. On Blackboard, it really isn't accessible. It doesn't have any of those features. I actually would use Zoom on my computer to zoom in and stuff, and so sometimes it would freeze. And so I've gotten to where instead of just pinching the Zoom on my computer, I use the Zoom setting, so I can just triple tap 3 fingers and look at it that way. But I don't like to do that on my iPad or my phone because you have to scroll with your fingers. And so in that case, I would just use VoiceOver, but also using VoiceOver, a lot of the tabs and things like that are not accessible at all. And it's very, very hard to navigate. I know that when I have classes such as in person, I know when I was in Dr. Burton's class, I would stay after class and have her look at it with me with her assignments. And that's one of the things that I've picked up that works best with me is I, find out what assignment we're doing in person. And then I can just go to my professor and say, hey, I know we have this assignment. Can you help me find what tab it's under? Because one of the things I've noticed is that each professor or each course can set up like a course shell or whatever they call it. However, each course shell is very different. So say on Dr. Burton's course shell, the first thing could be the assignments tab, but on another class, it could be quizzes. So one of the things I use in my day-to-day life is memorization, but it's very hard to do that when everything is very jumbled. So I think if they could add the same accessibility services from the core website, which is inverting the colors and it has a screen reader and things of that nature, if they can just embed that into Blackboard, I think that would help. And if they could tune it for VoiceOver or make the screen reader they're going to have for that, great to work with the nature of the website, such as all the tabs and all of that, I think that's when it would be the best for everybody to use and what they could do to fix it.
And Cole, I'd like to add something to that. Every college has a disability services department. I know Nancy Ellison at Concord University is fabulous. If you are having any difficulties with professors, with your coursework, with virtual, with whatever, you can reach out to disability services and they can be a good link for you at the college. As far as accommodations, working with you with your professors, working with you on time management and organizational skills. So if you need that information, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Kelly, to anyone, and we can get you that information. But every college should have a disability services resource that you can reach out to for additional help.
Jody, I was going to jump in at this point, and if there is anybody that has any suggestion for resources, like you just told us about, if you would get that information to me or Cole or Kelly, and we'll include it on the email that's going to go out as a follow-up to this event in the next couple of days.
Okay.
Could I say just a couple of things to address the Blackboard issue and accessibility issues?
Go on.
Jody is exactly correct. There, Cole and anyone else that's interested, there are multiple ways that we can make sure that students are their issues are addressed. I think, in fact, I was asked to be on a committee just recently. We are upgrading Blackboard, and I agreed to be on the committee for one of the reasons I agreed was so that we could look at some of those accessibility issues on Blackboard, since that is the format that we deliver our online classes with. So I think it's essential that we provide those things to all students. So with regard to accessibility issues, Nancy Ellison, I will say again, I'll reiterate that she is exceptionally good at her job, and she does a very nice job working with students and working with becoming a liaison sometimes with the professors. One of the things I want to stress, though, as a college professor, self-advocacy is probably the most important tool that you have. You have support from professors in most cases. You have support from student services in many cases, or all cases, I should say, and you have disability services, and we will work diligently to see to it that those accommodations are made. not because it's the law, but because it's the right thing to do. So reach out, but always, 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 always be willing to stand up and say, you know, here's my strength and here's what I need from you. And that's not being rude. It's not being disrespectful. It's being a self-advocate. Because if you don't do it, I think, Cole, you said it earlier, one of your teachers told you in high school, if you don't do it, nobody else is going to. And I will say, in some cases, they don't, because they don't know what to do. And that's why it's so important that you all self-advocate and tell us, you know, some of my best teachers were the students that I taught, because they taught me what they needed. And in that manner, they taught me how to become better at what I do. And if you really want to do better, then you need to work with us. It's a collaboration and a joint effort. So,
and Dr. Burton, to go a step further in that with regards to employment.
Yes.
You know, the laws do protect persons with disabilities. However, your disability has to be disclosed at the right time, at the appropriate time. You have to ask for reasonable accommodations at the appropriate time. So just because you have the disability doesn't give you the protection. Things still have to be done the right way through the right process. So learning that in your early high school, post-secondary education, you know, and then moving on into employment is so important.
I agree.
Well, thank you so much. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to add? Want to say hello to a friend? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody answer. Again, let me thank you all for being here today. I think that this week was an amazing event. We certainly couldn't have done any better if it were in person. And I appreciate everyone who was here today. And I invite you all to take what you've learned into the world and make it a better place. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.